Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily AI Show Live. We're here to tell you what we know. And that hopefully is a lot more than we would, any one of us know. The format of the show is we have six of us, and on certain shows, certain of us are more appropriate for discussion. In general, we talk about AI as applied to business because this started out as a LinkedIn Live, but now we're on Spotify and YouTube and elsewhere. And today we're speaking about Character AI. Character AI is for business people probably something you've never heard of, but it is one of the top most visited sites on the web uh, among AI related services. So if you do a search for the most visited sites on Google that are AI sites, leads off with ChatGPT, and then Character AI is number 2 right now in a Google search. It has approximately 100 million monthly active users, and they are predominantly between the ages of 18 and 24. 60% of them are 18 to 24. So Character AI was started by a couple of Google AI researchers, and they left and formed Character AI. And then very recently, in November, it was announced that Google was negotiating for an investment in Character AI. And this often happens. Google has a lot of companies where someone who was working at Google, they went out and formed their own company, and Google eventually acquired them back, and they came back into the fold, much wealthier than they were before, although they were doing fine working at Google in the first place. So Character AI is very interesting because recently the whole idea of developing bespoke assistants has kind of hit the news feeds, as OpenAI started a thing called custom GPTs, where you can create your own accessible assistant that will perform according to your instructions, and it'll develop certain expertise, and you can actually add knowledge to it. Well, Character AI has been around a lot longer than that kind of personal assistant, and it's a platform on which you can build a character, which is the assistant. And it's interesting to see the kinds of characters that the younger audience actually builds. So, as you might imagine, there's a whole host of, characters that are surrounding the world of anime and gaming, and they have hundreds of millions, like not hundreds of millions, but more than 100 million users of that. And remember that a monthly active user in that count, 100 million, means that there's many more than 100 million users who have signed up for Character AI and use it periodically, although they might show up in a given month. So anyway, I played with it a little bit here. Some of the things that are on there are very, very useful. So, for example, one of the largest in the featured listing of the categories of these character assistants that have been created, let me step aside and say, without exception, these are made by just general users of Character AI. Character AI might have in the early days, put out some examples of the characters like William Shakespeare and Einstein, and that became interesting enough for interactive purposes that people then started building their own. So one of the leading ones is written by Landon, good old Landon.
Hey, Landon, thanks.
Yeah, Landon, good work. It's called Character Assistant, and it's your AI work and study buddy. And so that one is used by this younger audience to help with their schoolwork and or anything like that. There's another one called Psychologist with close to 100 million users. That one is just someone who helps with life difficulties. And then you have, of course, to give you an idea, there's a collaborative writing project out there that's called the SCP Foundation. The basic platform, and I know, Junior, you're nodding your head. I'd never heard of it, but that one has a huge number, 70 million users. that one is about this idea that they're anomalous, alien, and other, bizarre life forms out there that have to be identified and sequestered. And so there's a collaborative writing project that creates all these different types of anomalies, as they're called.
Wow.
And so this one is an interactive character that is the foundation itself that is responsible for capturing these anomalies. And you when you open up the chat with that assistant, it basically says you are an anomaly. To the foundation right away. So it's like role playing. And that's what I took away from my exploration with this, is what this is allowing people to do is something that's much more creative than the typical interaction or supporting assistant interaction that we see being used on ChatGPT or now on Gemini and with Copilot, for example, with Microsoft. So it is a very creative space, and there are full categories for anime and for games, and very, very clever and highly developed interactive opportunities there. For example, one of them is for a role-playing game where you design the role-playing game in this interaction, and then the AI kind of fleshes that out and moves forward with you and actually generates images that represent the progression of your role-playing game. You're a character in a scene. I just started one quickly, and it presented a city with a dragon protecting it. And I said, am I supposed to go into the city? Yes. Go in and explore all the alleyways and find out. Anyway, I was pleased to see that this is an entree to the interactions with AI that is on the creative side and is being adopted very, very widely by the younger generation. So if you're wondering what the next generations are doing with AI, Character AI is it.
Right. Well, actually, Andy, I wanted to loop back to the business side of things a little bit. And I think there's a couple of things I wanted to highlight here. I know we opened up saying, hey, this is going to be a little different than our business focused, but there's a couple of key things I think our business audience will appreciate. Character.ai had a leading fund round by Andreessen Horowitz of A16Z for $150 million with no revenue, right? So they saw the potential there, and that's because of the underlying technology, right? We have known for a while that 2024 is probably going to be the year of the AI assistant, and you'd mentioned a little bit about that, Andy. And this seems to be a focused LLM technology that is all about creating that persona and that personal assistant, and just you can kind of build off from there. So much so that they gave Character AI a $1 billion evaluation. Now that was back in March of 2023, right? And rapidly they've just been expanding, and it's been snowball effect here. Like then in May, they partnered with Google to use Google TPUs to do all of their training and building and processing and things like that. So we already seen a partnership built between Character AI and Google. And then, like you mentioned, Andy, and then in November, Google decides to invest. So there's a clear progression here. These big VC and money people have seen an opportunity here. And I think that really comes down into number one, it's the base technology, but two, beyond just the creative side. So there's a lot of, B2C interaction here, where people are enabled to create their own personas, their own characters to interact with, and they do it often. It was said that you mentioned the 100 million users, but those 100 million users on average spend 2 hours a day chatting. That's a significant amount of time. That's like TikTok time. And so what, regardless of what they're chatting about or who they're chatting with, that's a lot of attention. So there's an aspect there. Not only do they have 100 million users, but they're also highly engaged. So there's a lot of opportunity on the business side on that side. Now, I think from the business side, what they don't really highlight, and this is where the B2B comes in a little bit more, is like you pointed out, Andy, someone built a teaching bot, essentially, a learning bot, right? So we can see obvious benefits in education, right? So highly finely tuned bots who can even teach specific subjects. You can build all of that out. How about C-suite? We've seen that in a few other examples, right? Where what if I need a CFO to talk to? What if I need a CTO to talk to? Give me insights on the things that I should be concerned as CEO, or, whatever. Also, I think this is a great opportunity for businesses to use Character AI for simulations. So we've talked about in the past things like getting to know your customer and building a persona for them. Character AI is the technology that can do that easily, right? That's what it seems to be the underlying thing here. It's like, we want to create a persona. We want to feed it whatever we can to represent that persona, just like how you see all the different bots that are like famous people, Elon Musk and all those kinds of things, right? So what I'm seeing here is not just an opportunity for, your ideal customer persona build, but internally or situationally. So like, if you wanted to move into a new region with your business, right? You wanted to expand your marketing, you wanted to sell in a new region of the world or whatnot. A persona can help you gauge or simulate the customer base or potential clients, other businesses that exist there, by building your own subset for each of these personas or each of these characters. So I think that's where the key of the technology lies, is that ability to simulate and get sort of a foresee or forecast what a potential move is going to be, because it's this is the kind of potential clients we're going to have. These are the kind of hurdles that we're going to run into, and then you address it, pivot, and expand from there.
Right. So it gives you kind of a similar functionality as the custom GPTs that we talk about a lot, but it has a free tier, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you can engage in all of this without forking over money. And that opens up a ton more possibilities. Now, I believe that Character AI, I did not see something that said we totally train our AI on your data, but I'm sure they track your data, right? Like, they may not use it to train their LLM, but just like Google is watching what you're searching and everybody online is watching what you're looking at, there's a ton of information that's part of that, and that can then be very useful. The other thing that I think is interesting is it came out at CES, I think, during Amazon's presentation, or just was at the same time, but that I don't know that it was a full negotiated relationship, but Character AI came to your Alexa devices. And that is a little clunky, I will say. I spent a lot of time saying, I would like to speak with Seth Godin. I would like to speak with Seth Godin. I would like to speak with Seth like, how do you pronounce this? And there are 7 of them. So I was certainly hoping that I was speaking with the one that I had started a conversation with, right? Like, I would like to continue my conversation. But that kind of stuff where you can, as an author, as an expert, as someone who is has a particular point of view, you can make a character based on your somewhat expertise. And it's said the minute you get in, just a reminder, Character AI, everything is made up. Yeah. So absolutely. But the answer that I got from Seth Godin, spelled like Seth Godin, was very much in his voice, talking about not waiting, take the opportunity now, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't super deep with like an 8-step process that he created himself, but it was a conversation about grabbing the opportunity and not waiting for permission, right?
Right.
And I had a very interesting conversation with Socrates when it first came out through Alexa. And that was just very cool. All right. Yeah, Andy.
I want to just mention a couple things. One is that my first experience with Character AI was I did not find back, this is 7-8 months ago now when it first kind of hit the thing. I tried to articulate a character, and it didn't seem at that time to have the same sort of open-ended possibilities in terms of defining what the character was. It was a little more, because remember, this is mostly being done on mobile devices by the young people. So training a character or setting up a character with, all the, information necessary to imitate Shakespeare, for example, would be a little tricky for someone in terms of doing it on the mobile device. So the character creation UI, I'm sure, has advanced since then, and I apologize for not checking it out before. But so there's a limitation there, just in terms of just how do you train an assistant. And the second thing is in response to a question from Scott Garson, does Character.ai have an API? And the answer is no. There are ways that you can.
They do have unofficial APIs.
Yes, that's right.
Some people have built some unofficial ones in GitHub.
Right. You can, in GitHub, you can find a way using Node, JavaScript, or whatever to interact with the back end of AI, but that's beyond the ken of most of us, including me. So until they get an API access, you're not going to see Character AI be the kind of company that OpenAI or Google or Amazon or any of those are in terms of creating assistants that can be presented to the outside world. This is really a domain, I think, that will stay closed in that respect because it's so successful that way already. We're talking about a major attention grabbing system out there right now in Character AI. And I'll also add that many of the assistants that are there are aimed at educational and personal development kind of subjects, but they're not the ones that gather the very high volume of users.
Right. So we've got a bunch of comments. So Larry Kroll actually is a little concerned about working to amplify the bad or the good, and I would say the bad and the good, right? I guess what I'm saying is that these ideas will fail if we get more Kim Kardashians in place rather than more unique people in more unique places. Lipstick on a pig, basically. I think fail needs to be defined in this context, right? It's already successful. If the success is defined by being able to bring a group of people together and hold their attention, it's already absolutely doing that.
Enormous audience. It's ChatGPT scale audience on Character AI.
And Brian is playing hooky at a gymnastics competition. Is also commenting. We all wish his daughter well. And 2 hours a day, that's some serious time on site. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share some of the categories here. I'm just going to share a quick view of my screen. You can see across the top, there's a scrollable set of categories. I'm on the category right now called helpers. And some of those helpers are the one I mentioned right at the top, character assistant, your AI work and study buddy, psychologist, creative writing helper, are you feeling okay helper, which is if you're feeling bad, chat with me. I'm sure that's a very encouraging kind of therapeutic interaction. Ella, the dating coach, that gets a lot of users. Story maker, write any story you can. Ask Me Anything, Travels with Kate, you can see that there are some non-anime, non-game oriented opportunities on there. And then, here, just looking at the character categories, it then goes from those into anime game characters, games, anime, game characters, all of those. There's 5 different categories for just gaming and anime. And there's a lot of traffic around those because these are fantasy worlds that are easy to interact with and have a foundation in other media already.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like to take a second to try and answer Scott's question about how you could monetize the creation of these characters. All right, so if you're talking about from Character.ai side of things, I'm sure they're going to monetize through standard subscription models and extended services and features and things like that. If we're talking about what can we do to monetize off of Character.ai, I think that's going to be the underlying technology. That's where we're going to try and access the B2B side of things, is that LLM, and however they're going to open that up on the back end, whether that's like Andy said, once you create that official API access, that's when we can start really building out direct access on the back end. You can develop simulated personas, whether that be internal or external clients. So that's kind of how I'd point that out. And then Scott also had a follow-up question: can the characters be restricted to people with a link, like OpenAI's custom GPTs? No, not.
They can be restricted to you, right? Yeah. So it's only available to you. You have created a character that you want to interact with, or it's public. There isn't like a small user group.
I think it's important to reiterate that right now, the way that Character.ai is set up is it's customer facing. You are the customer using it. This is for your own personal use. The potential is, like I pointed out, is the technology that can be expanded out into multiple things. But right now, it's designed to be for your personal use.
Now, I believe,
and if you're going to do that, you would really just want to do something with the Assistance API, right?
Yeah.
You're just going to do what you want with the OpenAI's assistant thing. You're going to pay the API costs, and that you have total control over who gets access to that and who gets the link to that. The thing with Character.ai is the same thing as the thing with LinkedIn or to a lesser extent Facebook, as far as I'm concerned, but TikTok, those sorts of things, is that it's already done the work to gather a group of people, right? So you're not limiting that. You're looking to tap in to that as like a funnel of attention, if you can capture some of the attention in these places. And then once they're in that for you, now you can start your funnel thing where you're inviting them to engage with you at different levels.
So I was going to mention that I believe, and I don't have verification of this, but I believe that those 2 Google researchers built their own LLM to operate Character.ai. Yep. And so now with the kind of volume and traffic they have, and presumably the large treasure chest that the investors are providing to them, they can advance the capabilities of that LLM in the direction that is working for them commercially. And that's an attention economy. And they're, I think, going to remain focused on this kind of younger audience, interacting. These are the people who have the time to spend 2 hours a day on AI. And so I'm very curious, and I think a follow-up to this show would be for us to try to understand what's distinct and different about that LLM compared to all the major advances that are being pursued by the other major players. Because of the tight relationship with Google, will they eventually just shift over to using LLM Gemini? That is getting a huge amount of investment as well and making rapid progress towards artificial general intelligence. So
Oh,
does
wow.
character AI benefit from moving, like leapfrogging their LLM technology, to the point where they adopt another large language model as the primary reasoning interface for the interactions with the characters? Remember, there's a bunch of attendant things that have to be developed in order to launch a service like this. And I think that the rapid adoption of this one probably meant that they were focused largely on operational considerations, like how do I provide continuous and uninterrupted service to 100 million users? And that's where their investment has gone, rather than trying to advance the state of the art of LLMs, which is what the major players, OpenAI, Google, of course, Microsoft in concert with OpenAI, and then Amazon, with their efforts as well, and others, like we know all the others, Anthropic, Cohere, and others are out there really trying to get to AGI.
Mm-hmm.
I think they don't need to have a truly sophisticated level of intelligence and reasoning in these, because it's already sufficient and satisfactory. But we don't know. That may be a part of their mission.
Yeah, I think, and this might be a good time to do a final thoughts here. I see the huge potential here is and this may not, I haven't seen anything really tap into this, but, and we talked about this in other shows, but you had mentioned the gaming, like the gaming bot, right? You're running your own RPG and things like that. I think there's a huge potential for the underlying technology here to build adaptive characters in video games and computer games. I think having live games with an underlying adaptive character based off of, you build the bot and you have that as the responses that you're getting. And we're seeing movement into this in, individual ways. But Character AI has a unique position, I believe, to where they could build that interactivity. Like if they built in a access way to use a character that you build on their LLM and access it through a gaming development platform like Unity, then, or Unreal, you can then start just integrating your fine-tuned or your highly developed characters into your video games, right? And so I think that's a huge path for them to take, especially since we're seeing just, it seems to be within their wheelhouse. They created a tech that is specifically about character development. And I'd love to see how this could be expanded into other fields, especially like creative writing, things like that. We talked about education, but once you have that interactive element and you have that knowledge base with it, it's essentially creating a tutor. It's essentially creating a persona for whatever field. They can be the expert. And then, and like we said in another show, Andy, you're a fan of, the council of experts kind of setup. So build your own council of experts.
And they have group chat. You can make multiple characters and bring them into a group. I think that's a paid feature, but maybe I'm wrong. I did not check it out. I thought that would be a very fun daily AI show experiment to make characters of ourselves and see what that conversation. Scott says absolutely to Jumi. Combined with VR and voice interfaces, we can make amazing experiences. Absolutely. And one of the things that you guys are making me think as we're having this conversation, I have never heard anything about a blip when their LLM got updated. And we know their LLM gets updated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we focus on news every week, right? Like we are definitely watching, listening to the sidewalk. I don't know what kind of analogy I'm trying to do. But they are clearly being able to upgrade and improve their back end without the blips that we are hearing from in the other services that are getting the same kind of usage. Now, some of that may be that business isn't there, but if you interrupted the experience of a ton of people who are expecting to spend 2 hours a day with a similar kind of experience, that we would hear that, even if we're not 18 to 24. And so that's interesting.
Here's a small counterpoint, which is, we identify as blips or glitches in those systems. They're failure to either follow instructions correctly and or hallucinate and deliver incorrect things. But they've already given themselves a pass here at Character.ai, which is everything's made up, and don't believe anything that's said here. So it's not as critical. This whole context is not as critical as when you're trying to do, production quality, output for critical business processes. It's a totally different game. And literally, it's a game over here in Character.ai.
Right. Well, I would say my wrap up is I really believe that one of the best ways to engage with AI, to start and also to have in the back of your mind, is that AI is your improv partner. You are engaging in a scene with AI. You are not allowed to, you could try to control them, but that does not mean that your scene partner is going to do what you want it to do. And I feel like Character.ai has just made this amazing arena in which that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I love it.
My final comment is that before this show, I actually thought this is going to be great for Beth, who is an improvisational dramatist. And because this is all about role play, it's satisfying for each user to get into an engagement with a character of your own invention and or ones that have been invented by others. And you're basically playing, in a new domain, one that's been created in the moment for that scene. And I think that's just a further proof that Beth's fundamental foundational training is so relevant to AI, and Character.ai is proof of it.
Yes. And if you want your team to build up those improvisational skills, reach out. Absolutely. Jumi, what's your wrap up?
Well, that's pretty much it. I just want to see, I want to see their next steps. I want to see what they do on the back end. I love the concept for client side of things. I personally need to do a little more experimentation. I think creating the group chat of mentors would be super helpful. I also want to see how they do with language training, because all the LLMs can understand multiple languages and things like that. I'd love to see what can we see on the next version of a Duolingo or something like that. Maybe a little more immersive with having that role play aspect. So I'd say those are the kinds of things that I'm looking for.
And learning languages is one of the key areas. So it will speak to you in some languages.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. Tomorrow, what are we talking about tomorrow? Forgot already.
I think we have the 1 person, 1 billion company idea.
Tomorrow's the unicorn show.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Recently, Sam Altman said, we are going to soon see, sometime in the next couple of years, we'll see a company with a $1 billion valuation that is one person using AI to develop a service out there that gets adoption sufficient to value it at more than $1 billion. Just like Character.ai got its initial valuation to $1 billion before they ever even started out. But that had a lot to do, I think, with the people who were involved. But that's also going to contribute to that first 1 billion one person company. So join us tomorrow, and then Wednesday we'll be talking about the news that we've learned about this in the past 7 days.
Yep. Thursday is a conversation about whether the US is positioning itself for AI dominance because it's taking a more relaxed approach to privacy and personal rights, and Europe is doing the opposite. And there are lots of things to talk about with that. And then Friday is our every other week wrap up circle back show. So join us. We're looking forward to it.
Next time.
Aloha.